Number 1. I was locked in a closet when I tried to expose my granddaughter's stepmother's boyfriend for what he had done. It happened at family dinner. My granddaughter leaned in and whispered, "It hurts when I sit." No one heard her but me. Her lips brushed against my arm, her voice barely there. Her plate sat mostly untouched, mashed potatoes, half a chicken tender, a crescent roll, all cold. She kept shifting in her seat, her legs moving constantly, her knees pressed together like she was trying to hold something in. I looked at her. Her big brown eyes were too still, too quiet. She searched my face like she was asking a question she couldn't put into words. That moment felt like a siren that only I could hear. I turned to the table and said gently, "Ellie says it hurts when she sits." They laughed. Elisa, across from me, in a low-cut floral dress that didn't belong in a room full of kids, let out a loud cackle. "Oh, please," she said, waving her wine glass. "She's probably just constipated or acting like Grandma again." So dramatic, the others chuckled. Even Brian, my ex-son-in-law, gave a weak smile and looked at his phone. Ellie's face went pale. She stared down at her plate, her mouth shut tight. I reached out and rested my hand on her back. She tensed. "She said she's in pain," I repeated, this time firmer. My eyes locked on Elisa. "Margaret," she said, rolling her eyes, "not everything's a crisis. She's 6. Kids whine. They fall off furniture. Maybe she bumped her tailbone jumping off the couch. Or maybe you filled her head with your creepy stories again." "She's not pretending," I said. Brian cleared his throat. "Let's just get through dinner, okay?" "Right," Elisa added loudly. "Let's get through dinner without another one of Margaret's ghost stories. Honestly, you talk more when you're turning dessert into a true crime episode." I went quiet. I was used to the jabs and the way they treated me like I didn't belong. I lived in the basement of the house I once owned, ate at the table I used to polish, cooked in the kitchen that still had my initials carved into the pantry door. But I wasn't family anymore, just tolerated, kept around. Only Ellie noticed me. She was the only one who ever came down the basement stairs after dinner barefoot in her pajamas, sketch pad in hand, asking if I'd read to her. She'd sit with me during my morning tea, head resting on my leg while I knitted. She whispered when no one else would listen. Later that night, after everyone had moved to the living room, I watched her. She didn't sit on the couch. She knelt on the rug, her coloring book open but untouched. Her little fingers moved along the edges of her crayons, but never picked one. Her shoulders were tight, her feet curled underneath her. When Logan, Elisa's boyfriend, a man with no ties to this family, reached over her to grab the remote, she flinched. "Ellie," I said softly, "do you want to come downstairs with me later? We can read the one with the fireflies." She didn't look up, just nodded. That night, under the basement's soft yellow lamp, she curled up beside me, face pressed against my side. I didn't read. I just held her. Eventually, she whispered again. "He said if I tell, I'll get taken away. Like you almost were." My hand froze mid-stroke through her hair. Who said that, baby? But she was already pretending to sleep. I sat there in the silence furnace, humming in the background, dread sitting heavy in my chest. The kind of dread only a grandmother knows. I'd seen the signs for months. Ellie avoiding eye contact, sudden tantrums, bedwetting that Elisa mocked in front of guests, the way Logan lingered too long in doorways. And now this. I looked down at the little girl asleep against me, so small, so scared, and I knew no one else would do anything. I had already buried one daughter. I wasn't going to lose the only piece of her I had left. We should have left her in that hospice. She's just waiting to die louder. Elisa said it loud enough for everyone to hear, but she never looked at me. She never did. Her cruelty always came like decor, casual, constant part of the atmosphere. That night she said it while I was doing dishes. I stood at the sink, hands deep in suds, in the same kitchen where I used to bake birthday cakes and laugh through burned Thanksgiving dinners. Now I stood there, aching quiet, while her words slithered through the air. She's just waiting to die louder. she said again, pulling a napkin from the table. Honestly, why are we still keeping her here? What for nostalgia? No one responded. They never did. This was still my house. My name was the first on the deed almost 30 years ago. Harold and I bought it before the crash, back when we still believed in the future. After Harold died, I kept it running. After my daughter Janine died in that wreck, I turned the guest room into a nursery for Ellie. I painted the walls yellow. I held her every night while Elisa disappeared on grief weekends, and Brian drowned himself in overtime and beer. When I moved into the basement, it was supposed to be temporary, just until they got back on their feet. They never did. Piece by piece, they took over. The upstairs bathroom became off-limits. My furniture was shoved into the garage. Elisa took down the photos of Janine and replaced them with brunch selfies and party pics. I became a leftover. The woman who scrubbed that floor on her knees for decades, reduced to a babysitter they didn't pay. Elisa had no love for Ellie. I was just tolerated because I cooked, did laundry, and picked Ellie up from school. And even then they said grandma the way someone might say roach. Anytime I tried to talk to Ellie, really talk, Elisa shut it down. She's fine, she snapped once when I asked why Ellie flinched when Logan entered a room. She's just shy, she barked another time when I brought up Ellie's nightmares and her drawings rooms with no windows, screaming faces. Don't project your trauma onto my kid, she hissed last week. Just because you couldn't save your daughter doesn't mean you get to play detective. But I remember the night I stood at the bottom of the stairs and heard Ellie crying upstairs. Elisa had locked the door. I wasn't allowed up after 9. I wasn't allowed to interfere. But I knew that cry. I knew it like my own breath. It was the same cry Janine used to make when she came home with bruises from a boy who said he loved her too much. Same pitch, same choked sobs. They said I was old, losing it, that my mind was slipping, that I belonged in care. But I wasn't broken. I was watching. I was remembering. I was praying to a God. I wasn't even sure still listened. At dinner the next day, Ellie barely spoke. She picked at her food. When Logan brushed past her, she froze. No one noticed. I did. I placed my hand over hers. She didn't pull away. Ellie, I whispered. Want to draw something after dinner? She nodded, the only word she said all evening. That night, she handed me a drawing. Thick, black crayon smudged across the paper. A small girl with no mouth. A tall man with no face beside her. I didn't ask. I just held her. I knew. I had already lost one daughter. I wasn't about to lose her child too. The drawings kept coming. At first, they looked like typical kid sketches, stick figures, flowers, uneven lines. But the light disappeared. No more butterflies. No more rainbows. She drew houses with no windows. Walls blacked out. No light, no doors. Roofs pressing down like they were crushing everything inside. One morning, I found a picture under her pillow. A little girl, Ellie, curled into a corner. Next to her, a tall, faceless man with red-streaked hands reaching for her. Above it, in shaky letters, "Don't tell." No one believes Grandma. My hands shook. Not just because of what she drew, but because I understood. Someone had convinced her that silence was safer than truth. I folded the picture and hid it inside my old recipe book. The next night she gave me another. Same faceless man. But now he was holding the girl's hand. She had drawn tears down her own face, big blue teardrops. Below it she wrote, "Be quiet, or he'll go away too." I held her close. I whispered what she needed to hear. "You're safe with Grandma. You're not alone." The next day, I waited for the house to go quiet. Logan left for beer. Brian disappeared into the garage. I slid the drawing across the counter to Elisa. "She's crying for help," I said. Elisa glanced at it, blinked, and tore it in half. "She draws weird because you fill her head with guilt and ghosts," she snapped. You've been whispering your sob stories about your dead daughter and your sad little haunted life. And now Ellie thinks drama equals attention. She's scared. She's imaginative. And you're projecting. Then she leaned in, her voice low. Try this again, and I'll make sure you're not allowed to talk to her at all. I didn't answer. I just walked away. That night in the basement, Ellie sat with her crayons scattered like fallen leaves. She didn't look up. He said, if I tell, I'll be taken away, she whispered. Just like you almost were. I thought back to a phone call I had overheard. Elisa talking about getting me declared incompetent, about taking full custody, about transferring the property. They had tried once. Now they were trying with Ellie. I held her tightly. You don't have to tell anyone else, I whispered. Just me. I'll always believe you. She nodded. Then she slid another drawing into my hands. A child and an old woman stood in the corner of a dark room. No windows. A light bulb above them flickering. Between them, one word written in pink crayon, help. That's when I knew no one else was coming. No one else would believe me. If I went to them with a handful of drawings and a shaking voice, they'd call me confused. Delusional? So I started quietly. That night, after Ellie fell asleep, I unzipped the back of her favorite stuffed giraffe and placed a tiny voice recorder inside. I had bought it months ago. I'd never used it. Until now. I clicked it on. Every night, I asked soft questions between bedtime stories. Does the man in your drawing still come? I'd ask. She would nod or whisper, only when Mommy's asleep. One night, while stroking the giraffe's ear, she said he has no face because he says I can't draw it. Another night, he locks the door from the inside. I never flinched. I just kept recording. Eventually, she said his name. Logan is the shadow. It felt like ice in my chest. I had suspected it for weeks, but hearing her say it shattered something. I kept recording, every night, quietly, carefully. Then I called Barnes, our old attorney. He helped Harold and me set up the trust. He'd quietly advised me during my first custody battle, the one I lost. I hadn't spoken to him in over a decade. But when I called, he picked up after 2 rings. Margaret, yes, I said. I need you. For Ellie. Within a day, I was in Barnes's office downtown. I handed him a USB stick labeled in shaky handwriting recordings. Ellie. He plugged it in, put on his glasses, and listened. He didn't speak for a long time. When the clip ended, the one where Ellie whispered, "If I tell, I'll disappear like Grandma almost did," he finally looked up. "We can build a case," he said, "but we need more. I need to know exactly who he is." Logan, I told him. Elisa's boyfriend. Barnes dug in. What he found chilled even me. Logan Mitchell, 37. No steady work history. Drifted from state to state. Had lived with 3 different women in the last 8 years. 2 had daughters under 10. 1 filed a report in Texas child sexual abuse. The case was dropped. Not enough evidence. The witness backed out. But there was a detail: the girl had drawn a man without a face. Barnes looked at me serious. This may go beyond him. If Elisa knew, if she protected him, she already is, I said. I pulled out Ellie's latest drawing. A faceless man standing next to a little girl in bed. Next to him, a woman with her back turned. Ellie had labeled her mom. Barnes closed the folder slowly. We build this quietly. We don't confront. We collect, and we protect Ellie. They can't see this coming. I nodded. My fingers clenched my purse like it was the only solid thing left in my world. Thank you for listening to today's stories. Part 2 will be updated soon. If you enjoyed listening, please like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Also, leave a comment below to share your thoughts on what happened. Take care.